Good morning. Welcome, everyone. It's so great to see you. Welcome to West Valley Unitarian Universalist Church service. Our beautiful building is kind of off limits right now due to the virus, but here we are with the magic of technology and having a Zoom service, which is just wonderful. We're so happy that all of you are joining us. Our theme for the month is worth and dignity. It's one of our 7 principles, and you'll be hearing more about it off and on through each service this month. This is a very special day for us. Today is the day that we welcome back our part-time minister, Reverend Cathy Corbin-Mannino. Welcome, Cathy. She's been on a summer break, and today she's going to be speaking about the origins of Grandparent Day and what it means to us today. The word grandparent is surely going to conjure up different images for each of us, depending on our personal experience. I've only had the privilege ever of knowing one grandparent, and that was my mother's mother. This is when I was a child and we were still living in Amsterdam. My grandmother was elderly. She was a widow. She must have been around 80-ish when I knew her. She always wore black. She walked with a cane, but she was the most loving person, and we always enjoyed her visits so much. She visited us every year, and we visited her. She played games with us and gave us all, me and the cousins, and we got so much special attention from her. And of course, the thing you remember best now is all the love that she gave. So Reverend Cathy, we look forward to hearing your views regarding the special roles of grandparents and how they are perceived. Our congregation is officially recognized by the UUA. It's a network of more than 1,000 congregations committed to our 7 principles, which include recognizing the worth and dignity of all people and the need for justice and compassion. We are also a welcoming congregation. And this emphasizes the fact that we welcome everyone regardless of sexual orientation. We also welcome all people of every race, political affiliation, or personal religious belief. We will now start the service with the lighting of the chalice. May the fire of this chalice we light today guide us through these days together. May it warm our hearts. May it guide our actions. May it illuminate our thinking. And may it remain with you throughout our time together. As a congregation free of dogma, we now enter into a covenant. Here we promise to one another our mutual trust and support. It will appear on your screen, and when it does, let us read it together. Love is the doctrine of our congregation. The quest for truth is our holy right, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve humankind in friendship. Thus do we covenant. For our reading this morning, I'm going to present some excerpts from a reading in the back of the hymnal, number 721. It's entitled, "They Are With Us Still." and it's by Kathleen McTeague. In the struggles we choose for ourselves, in the ways we move forward in our lives and bring our world forward with us, it is right to remember those who went before us and gave us strength. We share a history with those lives, and we belong to the same motion. They too were strengthened by what had gone before. They too were drawn on by the vision of what might come to be. Those who lived before us, who suffered and struggled for justice, have not melted into the dust and have not disappeared. They are with us still. The lives they lived hold us steady. Their words remind us and call us back to ourselves. Their courage and love evoke our own. We carry them with us. We are their voices, their hands, and their hearts. Every Sunday at this time, we take up a virtual offering since we're online. We take an offering to maintain our physical facility, as well as to aid our mission in the greater community. So if you will please take this time to write your check. You can mail it to either directly to the church, or you can mail it to Mark Oler King, either one. And we'll have a little Thank you. We accept your gifts with gratitude and we dedicate them to the service of the church. I'm now going to turn the service over to Reverend Cathy, and we'll be looking forward to hearing about grandparents.
Good morning. It is so good to be with you today. And I first want to echo a thank you for all those responsible for putting our virtual services together so we can continue to connect. It is so important for our overall well-being, and I think it helps encourage us to keep moving forward in creating and maintaining our beloved community. The COVID-19 pandemic first struck at my heart back at the beginning of the year when I read the headlines from Italy. Our grandparents are dying. Italy initially was hit particularly hard, and the reason why, according to researchers at the University of Oxford, in an article from the Demographic Science Journal, said the reason may be twofold. The country has the second oldest population on Earth, with 23% of their population being over the age of 65. And its young tend to mingle more often with the elderly. They may commute to work in the cities, but often live with their parents and/or grandparents. One reason the United States has been slow to respond was due to the impression that the virus itself killed mainly older people. So, although it decimated grandmas and grandpas, society might have to just learn to live with it. Elder law professor Nina Cohn writes, older people are also dying because of a more entrenched epidemic, the devaluation of older lives. Ageism. Prejudice and discrimination based on one's age has been around for a long time. But, like racism, it has raised its ugly head too during this time. Nothing was more shockingly evident to me than when Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick suggested that senior citizens ought to trade their survival in for the sake of their descendants' prosperity. He claimed that lots of grandparents would be willing to take a chance on their survival if it kept the economy running. In an interview on the Tucker Carlson show on Fox News, he argued that senior citizens ought to acquiesce to the danger rather than let their grandchildren suffer through another Great Depression. This was shocking to many people, but he is far from the only one to make such arguments. Bill O'Reilly said they were all on their last legs anyway. That mindset is also behind the herd mentality. Coronavirus is just another way to thin the herd so the herd can survive. Messages like that tell seniors that we are, expendable. That jump-starting the economy is more important than our lives. This message is re-emphasized with each rush for the states to reopen before safety measures are in place, as well as out-and-out refusal to wear masks and ignoring social distancing. Individual comfort, also called liberty, I guess, is taking precedence over communal responsibility. The burden is being left on the shoulders of the older adult to protect themselves. So I decided this was a good time to counter those messages with a focus on celebrating, at least in this moment, National Grandparents' Day, which is today. I entitled my talk, Grandparents, Our Link Between the Past and the Future, because I believe grandparents share with their grandchildren the strength and wisdom that our own experiences have given us. And in turn, grandchildren bless their grandparents with their vitality and innocence, which helps keep us young at heart. So together we create a chain of love that links the past with the future. The chain will lengthen, but will never break. Grandparents' Day was appropriately the brainchild of a grandchild, a 9-year-old boy named Russell Capper. In 1969, Russell sent President Nixon a letter suggesting that a day should be set aside to celebrate grandparents. He received a letter back that said, "Dear Russell, thank you for your letter to President Nixon. Your suggestion regarding a Grandparents' Day is appreciated, but the President ordinarily issues proclamations like this only when a congressional resolution authorizes him to do so. With best wishes, sincerely, Rosemary Woods, personal secretary to the President." 8 years later, Senator Randolph introduced a joint resolution to the Senate requesting the President to issue annually a proclamation designating the first Sunday of September after Labor Day of each year as National Grandparents' Day. It was passed in the Senate. And on August 3rd, 1978, Jimmy Carter signed the proclamation. President Carter recognized not Russell Capper, but Marion McQuaid as the founder of National Grandparents' Day. She served on the West Virginia Commission on Aging and wanted to educate youth about the importance of seniors and their contributions throughout history, and urged people to adopt a grandparent. When my great-grandfather died, I was 8 years old, and I heard my mother tell my father, "I am not going to let Cathy go to the funeral." She did not really know him. She thought that because prior to my birth he had a tumor removed which was located behind his eye. Surgery was complicated, and although the tumor was removed, he suffered a brain injury which left him blind in one eye, paralyzed on one side of his upper body, and unable to speak coherently. That's the great-grandfather I knew. But what my mom didn't realize was that I loved him just the way he was, because I knew he loved me. He always lit up when I came into the room, and he tried so hard to communicate and seemed to really enjoy just having me around. My most vivid memory was one morning at breakfast. We both got the giggles about something, and we couldn't stop laughing. Well, this annoyed my great-grandmother, who said, "If you two don't stop this incessant giggling," that's when I learned what the word incessant meant, "you both can just leave the table." Well, that only made it worse. We tried, but the pressure was too great. And every time we snuck a look at each other, we burst into laughter. It was hopeless. We were sent out of the kitchen together and still giggling. He was special to me because I knew I was special to him. Even though he could not say a word, I could see it in his eyes, his mannerism, his smile, his delight to have me around. Maya Angelou asked an audience during an interview once, "Do your eyes light up when your children enter a room?" Well, do they? Do your eyes light up when you see your children? Toni Morrison echoed that when she said it was interesting for her to watch what happens when a child walks into a room. She too asks, "Does your face light up?" She said, "Let your face speak what's in your heart. When you walk in the room, my face says, 'I'm glad to see you.'" This is the gift my great-grandfather gave to me, and I have never forgotten it, and in turn can now give that gift to my grandchildren as well. Our theme this month is worth and dignity, and I knew as a little girl that I had worth, at least to my great-grandfather, and that can be enough. There's a song in Snoopy the Musical that says, "If just one person believes in you deep enough and strong enough, hard enough and long enough, before you know it, someone else will, making it two. If two people believe in you, there is bound to be some other making it three. And if three, why not four, and more, until maybe even you believe in you." Jimmy Carter said, "Because grandparents are usually free to love and guide and befriend the young without having to take daily responsibility for them, they can often reach out past pride and fear of failure and close the space between generations. Grandparents can be the one who believes deep enough and strong enough and hard enough and long enough." Jonathan Tobin, the editor-in-chief of the Jewish News Syndicate, writes, "Our values, and in particular those teachings handed down by Jewish tradition and faith, require us to take actions to prevent the elderly from being sacrificed, even if that imposes hardships on the rest of society. While it may be rational to ask if the cost of the cure is as bad as the disease, do we really think the lives of such people are not worthy of preservation? Are we so lacking a moral compass that we would claim money, even the good of the national economy, is of greater value than the patriarchs and matriarchs of our families? Treating the lives of older citizens as a precious and loved resource rather than a group who has lived too long to be of any use is an imperative for an ethical society, especially one that is faced, as we are at this time, with difficult healthcare policy questions. Nothing can justify treating the lives of older people as not worth saving." Psychologist James Hillman wrote, "Ageism is a central issue in our culture. We don't have adults, mentors, elders. We have fixed ideas of seniors as almost embalmed. And we have been heading down this road for some time, with our fetish on youth and obsession with productivity. And society has been arranged to sideline the elderly, giving by example the rise of retirement communities, which reinforce the exclusion of the elderly from participation in society." Hillman would like to see the elderly restored to the role they've had in many tribal cultures, as caretakers of the traditions, stories, and crafts, and as intermediaries between the natural and the supernatural. Nina Cohn, whom I mentioned earlier, writes, "The wisdom of the elderly has been crucial to society's survival throughout human history. Wisdom, on average, accumulates with age, and that is why the elderly have been venerated in cultures throughout history. For that reason, although we may slow down and must retire from material productivity, our ability to be good citizens blossoms." There are so many examples of how senior citizens have blossomed that it was difficult for me to narrow it down, but I did to just 6 that I saw on a Boomer's bookmark compiled by Kay Ramos. The first one, Laura Ingalls Wilder, was 65 years old when Little House in the Big Woods was published. The last of the Little House series came out when she was 76. She did not let age stop the unveiling of her talents. So her wisdom gift to us: write and rewrite your story till you reach the ending you wish. We all have a story to share. Our pains, our triumphs, our victories, our challenges are all part of our story. Each part will inspire, but only if you share it, at least with your family. I so enjoyed hearing Paul share his story last week, and I will think of it now each time I look at our piano in the sanctuary. 2. Harry Bernstein started writing the beloved book, The Invisible Wall, a love story that broke barriers, when he was 93, which recounts his childhood experiences and struggles that his family endured during World War I. The book was published when he was 96. His wisdom gift: hardships and depression may challenge you, but don't let it ever stop you. Do not let heartaches or failures impede your growth. Rising above pain at any age will make you a stronger person. 3. Gladys Burrell ran her first marathon when she was 86 years old. She became famous after completing the Honolulu Marathon at the age of 92. Although it took her 9 hours and 53 minutes to finish, she was proud of reaching the goal she set. Her wisdom gift: success is one determined step forward after another until you reach your goal. No one finishes a marathon by not moving. Step by step, inch by inch, with determination and perseverance, you will eventually see the fruits of your labor. And 4, Susan Boyle. Susan Boyle's mother encouraged her to audition for Britain's Got Talent. She was hesitant because she believed people were being chosen for their looks. But she tried anyway as a tribute to her mother. She won, as you know, and her first album, I Dreamed a Dream, became UK's best-selling debut album of all time. Her wisdom gift: self-doubts and other people's doubts only become powerful when you let them. Step on whatever stage you want and are willing to pursue. Whether you make it or not, you already won against your most powerful enemy, self-doubt. 5. Peter Mark Roget retired at age 61. To cope with depression, he started pursuing one of the things he really enjoyed: making lists. He devoted his time to creating a catalog of words organized by their meanings. At age 69, he began the preparation for the publication of his project. The first edition of Roget's Thesaurus of English Words and Phrases was printed when he was 73. His wisdom gift to us: age cannot stop you from flourishing unless you want it to. If you have a magnificent obsession, go for it. Whatever it is, if it lights you up, do it. If it empowers you, act on it. If you are forced to stop, don't let stopping be part of your routine. Replace it with a pause. It is not a period, it's just a comma in your story. You may have several pauses and commas, but as long as you keep moving, your story can have a good ending. And the last one, Anna Mary Robertson was 67 when she suffered a deep depression after the death of her husband. To cope with the loss, she looked for ways to keep herself busy. In her 70s, she devoted most of her time to painting. She was completely self-taught, and her subjects were mostly about living the rural agricultural life. Her first big break came when an art collector saw some of her works hanging in a local store and bought them all. She was 78 years old at that time. Her paintings were shown at the Museum of Modern Arts in New York, and she became known as Grandma Moses. Then she started writing her memoir, My Life's History, at the age of 92. She died at the ripe old age of 101. Her wisdom gift: whatever natural talent you have inside, tap into it. A car is useless if it's just parked in a garage. If no one will drive it, it wastes the very function for which it was designed. Your talent is useless if you keep it in park within you forever. While we may not reach the level of acclaim in our golden years that these people did, we can transmit to our grandchildren those wisdom gifts, values of worth and dignity, perseverance and courage. And according to Dr. Carl Pellimer of Cornell University, research shows that as many as 9 out of 10 adult grandchildren feel their grandparents influenced their values and behaviors. So how do we do that exactly, consciously, on purpose? First, by loving your grandchildren. This may seem obvious, but grandparents really do value and enjoy the time they spend with their grandkids. According to the American Grandparents Association, 72% of us think being a grandparent is the single most important and satisfying thing in their life. 63% of us say they do a better job caring for grandchildren than they did with their own children. 68% think being a grandparent brings them closer to their adult children. And 90% enjoy talking about their grandkids to just about anyone who will listen. Secondly, by functioning as the family historian. Who knows the family history better than Grandma and Grandpa? Who can tell you stories of relatives you might not have even known? Knowing where you came from helps you have a sense of who you are and where you are going. There's a healthy pride in knowing your roots, how your family got to where they are. Every family faces struggles, obstacles, and joys. Knowing how your family overcame them gives you a sense of legacy and pride. Third, we have a unique perspective. A recent article from Health Guidance on the importance of grandparents describes them as gold mines of knowledge. Not all grandparents may possess bookish knowledge, but they do have a wealth of real-life experiences and information to share, which is not taught in any of the schools out there. 4, by having the time to build positive relationships. Parents love their children, grandparents love their grandchildren, but they love them in different ways. There is a stereotype of what happens at Grandma's house stays at Grandma's house, and that's for a reason. Grandparents love to spoil their grandkids in attention and affection. So allow me one grandchild story, please. My youngest granddaughter is almost 3 years old, and my princess. And she is quite well behaved for me, always, but not so much for her parents. And one time before COVID, they were all over and she wanted something and her mother said no. Well, she persisted and her mother stayed firm, no. Well, finally, quite dramatically, Remy ran and threw herself into my arms crying, "Gamma, Gamma, I want Gamma." Because she had one-on-one special attention and quality time with the grandma, a bond of love and safety was built. This can give parents a break and can help kids see older people in a positive light. When grandparents are spending time with their grandkids, they are usually retired empty nesters. So hopefully they are less stressed and have more time to be nurturing and loving. We have slowed down, so we are usually calm and have more patience, which is greatly beneficial to children. And we only have to do so for a short period of time, and then they go home. And 5, by being the bridge across the generation gap. Establishing normal, healthy relationships with elders early on is not only healthy for a child, their parents and grandparents, but also the greater community. Lack of understanding between generations has led to social division in our society. When younger people mix with older adults, they learn how to understand each other, and lines of communication open up that transcend age and minimizes ageism. When I became a parent, I was convinced I could not love anyone more than I did my child, until I had a grandchild. I discovered that it is the same unconditional love I felt for my children, only doubled. And there were fewer struggles and was a lot more fun. I hope you have a blessed Grandparents' Day. Even if you're not a grandparent, you can by simply reliving the precious moments and memories of your own grandparents and how they touched your life. Our closing words are from Eleanor Roosevelt to remind us that beautiful people, beautiful young people, are accidents of nature, but beautiful old people are works of art. Blessed be.
Thank you, Cathy. What a wonderful way to begin our to begin our fall year. It was great. As we extinguish the chalice for today, we will recite our church mission statement together, and it will appear on your screen. We agree to provide a safe place to celebrate diversity, draw inspiration for living better lives, foster social and environmental justice, and compassionately support each other in our spiritual searches. In closing, I would like to express my gratitude for every single person who made this service possible. It takes so much time and effort and coordination to put a service like this together. Thank you, Reverend Cathy, Paul, and all the people who help with technology, our musicians, Joe and Emily, and everyone who made the effort to attend this morning. After the postlude, we will stop recording and have joys and concerns. And immediately following that, you are welcome to join us for our fellowship hour.